Throughout my life, and especially the past 8 months that I've really been on my healing journey, I've experienced a lot of jealousy and insecurity and projection from others. And I feel like this might be like a sensitive topic because I do see a lot of people through social media and stuff like that say that, it's selfish of you to think that people really care that much about you. But honestly, there are some people who feel like they don't have anything better to do with their lives. And I'm not saying that's accurate, but that might just be how they feel about themselves. And there are also some people, again, like sensitive topic, I understand it, but there are some people who haven't really experienced anyone being jealous of them. And they also might be somebody who is deeply jealous of other people. So if you feeling like jealousy from other people, you expressing that feeling, it might feel like triggering to them and it might feel like they are being called out. But either way, I'm here to let you know that jealousy is common and that, if you feel like people are jealous of you and you deeply feel that in your gut, not trying to be selfish or anything, you're not delusional. And I want to get more into that, and I feel like if I go through all of my experiences, we're going to be here for so long. But I am Julia. This is Tea Time with Julia, and I talk about, I have my reflections here, and I like to help guide others in their authenticity and, in their growth journey based on my own experiences. And this is a lot about how I deal with others' jealousy and insecurity. And I don't really want to talk too much about my experiences, but like some things have been like really overtly like just, I was like, okay, like, all right, cool, I get what you're doing. But also I think being more on my authenticity journey and really just trying to be my best self has brought out a lot of insecurity and, projection from other people, because at least for me, it is a lot of pattern recognition. It is a lot about learning about myself and also learning about other people at the same time and just people in general. So I've learning a lot about my insecurities and stuff like that is also learning about a lot of insecurities about other people and how those things manifest. So, but today I just want to talk more about like the jealousy journey and that like you're not delusional, that some people do feel jealous and some people do. Well, I'm going to say like we all do feel jealous at some point in some capacity, but there are some people who really do make that everything about themselves, who feel like they need to live in that insecurity because they don't feel confident about themselves because they feel like they are lacking. And I feel like the more that you are confident in yourself and you know who you are authentically at your core, other people can feel triggered by that and feel jealous of that. Like, oh, if they can do it, why can't I do it? Like, what are they doing that's so different? And like, they're not that great. Like, it can sort of be that kind of thing where people are just, projecting their insecurities on you, and they're, even like keeping up with everything that you're doing and don't really have anything nice to say to you. Like, there have always been slights to me, like throughout my life where, I will say like, it's just, even in the jewelry that I make, and like, I price my jewelry so that I can take care of my costing and like the wholesale costing, because when you sell things wholesale to other people, they take 50%. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. So my prices might seem high to some people, and also like affordability is subjective. Everybody is different. What is expensive to one person might be like just, a normal, whatever somebody spends on a normal day for them. That is all subjective to every single different person. But I've dealt with a lot from people, like I said, like slights for, how I'm pricing my jewelry, how I'm pricing stuff. And, there have been people who have like come to me and been like, do I even dare ask how much that is? Like just things like that, where like, I'm sorry if you can't afford it, but I'm not going to sell myself short because you can't afford something. So there have always been things like that with me, where it's like I've noticed other people's patterns. I've noticed, when they feel insecure about themselves for something, that, like I said, they can't afford a certain thing, so they're going to attack me for it. So there's just been so much that I've experienced, and if I tried to explain it all, we would be here for hours. So I'm not really going to do anything like that. But this is more so how I have noticed them and how I respond to them. And some of the things that I've learned, because you're not delusional. If somebody is trying to tell you, I have tried to go to other people and been like, hey, like, I kind of feel like this is a little bit weird to me. Like, this person keeps asking me what I am doing. And then, They asked me this a month ago, and now they're doing exactly what they asked for me to help them on. So it just feels like they're copying me. And, I've been told that I was delusional, that I was making it up, that I was looking too hard into it. And I feel like at that point I was asking people who were deeply jealous people, which I knew, looking back on that and just knowing them for so long. So, yeah. And it does exist. Like I said, you're not delusional. As long as you are being, aware and honest with yourself. And, like I said, the more that we become authentic with ourselves and the more that we know ourselves, the people who don't really know themselves might feel offended and, a little bit insecure about that. But we can all choose to be. I say this all the time, that you can choose to be your best self at any point in any day. You don't really need an invitation. You can do that for yourself. So I don't understand sometimes why people, will make the insecurity and the jealousy their entire personality. But it does exist, unfortunately. We live on a planet with 8 billion people. It would be wild to think that nobody is jealous about anything at any point. Some people will literally kill over jealousy. So I am like completely, I just don't feel like there's anything to be delusional about when it comes to jealousy. And like I said, it could be like somebody's jealous about your job position. Somebody is jealous about the person you're dating. They're jealous about your gifts. If you're an amazing singer, like they might be jealous of that. They might literally want to wear you as a second skin. It could be anything like that. People can be jealous for so many different types of reasons. And it doesn't honestly have to make sense because, if it makes sense to them, I also don't really want that to make sense to me. Like, I don't want to understand why somebody wants to wear another person as a second skin and wants to like literally be another person, because I don't feel that way. So I'm glad I don't understand it. But yeah, like I said, jealousy is a normal emotion that we all experience, but it just depends on whether or not you want to actually live in that jealousy and that insecurity. Sometimes that comes up for me and I got to actually work through that myself. And, if it's something that I see online, if I see somebody, doing so well and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I wish I was doing that well too. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to do that well. That just means that I'm on my own journey and I'm doing things in my own time. So sometimes I do get jealous, but I got to work myself through that. And that is like part of growing. That is part of healing, because I am actively choosing to heal and to grow and to not sit in that jealousy. But don't let someone tell you are delusional or paranoid if you know your gut feeling is telling you something different. And when you are being your authentic self and you're not afraid to be who you truly are, people who are insecure, like I said, I want to be careful with my words because, sometimes we can all feel those insecurities, but people who live in their insecurities, will try to bring you down, and not all of them will. Again, there are some people who are insecure and we just kind of work through it, and like it can be at a certain phase in our lives. I've been insecure before and I had to work through it, and I also wasn't the nicest person, but I had to work through that too. And some people may just kind of watch you from the side. Some people may follow everything you do and try to like imitate you, but you can kind of take that as a compliment, because they see something inside of you, your confidence, your strength, your courage, your fearlessness, that they can also emulate. Like they can be that confident person, but for some reason they feel like they see that in you and they can't be that person. And I've grown up around people like that who really saw my light, like as a young age, and, did everything that they could to snuff it out. Since I was like 10, I was called, ugly. I was called the B word. I was called, terrible names, idiot, stupid, like all different kinds of things, like growing up from like middle school into college. And, I really let that dictate me for, almost 2 decades of my life. And I was always wondering what was wrong with me. I was always wondering like, okay, maybe I'm delusional and I think I'm like cool and I'm great, but maybe I'm actually not. Like that was a lot of what I thought about myself for so long. And, I really realized last year, and also like over the years of when I was selling at markets and people would be nice to me, people would compliment me, that it was sort of like an awakening where I just thought to myself, okay, maybe I actually am cool. Maybe I am as talented as I think I am. And, it wasn't really until last year that I realized that I wasn't even reaching my full potential, that I was a really caring person. My light was really bright and I was just amazing. And, I feel like we should be like praising ourselves and we should be saying nice things to ourselves. But yeah, I was just around a lot of people who did not want me to see that part of myself because they didn't really see it in them, and they were intimidated by that because they hated seeing that, because they didn't think that they could do that for themselves, whether or not they actually could. Like, I feel like we have all of that within ourselves to be amazing, to be kind, to be compassionate, to be funny. And, we all have these traits in different ways, but I feel like there are some people who don't think that they can do that, who are so separate from themselves that they don't think that they can bring those characteristics out of themselves, which is sad. And it's not like something that we need to go out of our way to make other people feel about themselves. Like, we all have our own lessons, we all have our own things to learn, which I also might talk about in another video, because there have been times where I've wanted people to see the great things in themselves, that it also set me back on my journey, because I was spending so much time on them and making them happy, making them see like just how amazing that they were, that they were taking all of my energy, like, and as soon as they felt great, I was gone. I got the boot. So yeah, that might be another topic. I'm gonna have to write that down. But yeah, going back to this one. But yeah, this is just my last paragraph. So know that some people may be jealous and intimidated about your authenticity because it brings out the insecurities within them. They might even try to insult you with the insults that they tell themselves to try to get you on their level. But pay them no mind and wish them well and remain focused on yourself. So honestly, how I respond to others' jealousy and insecurity, which is basically this whole video after I've talked about all my experiences, is to really just don't really pay it any mind. Sometimes I think of it as like, okay, as soon as somebody says an insult to me, I'm like, they must think that way about themselves. That is like exactly what I tell myself, because, being ugly is subjective. Like, you might not be somebody's cup of tea, but that doesn't mean you need to drink it. You don't need to outwardly tell somebody that they're stupid or they're ugly or they're whatever, this, that, and the third. But, if somebody is actually going out to tell you that, it's probably what they think about themselves. So don't pay them any mind. Literally, my advice to anybody who is trying to project their own insecurities and their jealousies onto you is just don't pay them any mind. If they're trying to bring you out of character, if they're trying to say something to really make you question yourself, don't, just wish them well on their journey. Don't really pay attention to that. And don't really let it affect you. I let it affect me, like I said, for almost 20 years. And I don't want to say, I don't really know if it set me back. I feel like there were certain things that I wanted to learn. I've been going through that a lot lately. Like, if there were situations that I was in that I could have maybe gotten myself out of, but I feel like, hindsight is 20/20. We don't really know everything in the moment. And there are some things that we need to learn. So I feel like I needed to learn through those things, because I feel like it has given me, this great sense of self and authenticity, that when you are authentic in yourself, when you are happy with like the way you laugh, the way you look, the way you dress, when you're not wearing makeup and you're confident in yourself, that, hold that dearly to yourself, because there will be people who will try to bring you down. And that doesn't mean it has anything to do with you. That I feel like the brighter that you shine, that there will always be people who will try to bring you down. There will always be people who, like I said, are living in their jealousy and insecurity and don't know how to get out of that. But that doesn't have to be your goal to help them through that. Maybe you can even help them through that indirectly by living as your best self, and they can, either choose to take that as inspiration or they can choose not to. That isn't your responsibility. But yeah, continue to live in your authenticity unapologetically, no matter what, how it feels right for you. And, to continue laughing, to continue, dressing the way you want to, cutting your hair the way you want to, wearing your makeup. If you want to wear full face every day, absolutely go ahead. If that's what you want to do, with like a great eyeliner, do what you want to do. Or if you want to paint your nails all different colors, go ahead and do what you want to do. And as long as that is authentic to you and it's not hurting anybody, like intentionally hurting anybody, that is all that matters. So And yeah, there will just always be jealous people. Just keep doing what you want to do and try to pay them no mind as much as you can. And like I said, whenever somebody says something to me, I just immediately think that that must be how they feel about themselves. Because like, if you don't know me, how do you feel that way about me? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. Yeah. But I hope that was helpful in some way, but that was just more so about my experiences and saying the fact that jealousy and insecurity do exist in this world. And there are people who choose to live in it, make that their whole personality throughout their entire life. And that's just how some people are. It's 8 billion people, maybe 9 billion people at this point. I don't know. I haven't checked. But it does happen. It does exist. And, people who are telling you that, you're selfish for thinking that people are jealous of you, maybe you just don't experience people being jealous of them. So, but also take the jealousy as a compliment. If they see how wonderful you are, if they try to tell you you're ugly and that you're stupid and you're whatever, try to flip that. Like, you are so beautiful and so wonderful and so smart and so kind and, cool that they got to try to bring you down. So just continue to be yourself unapologetically, no matter what. That is my advice, and that is my guidance for today. So I hope that was helpful. And it makes me sad that other people go through situations. I was going to say, like, leave one of your, like, experiences in the comment, but, it just makes me sad that other people do go through that. It took a long time for me to, like I said, 20 years for me to actually, like, realize that there wasn't anything wrong with me and that I was amazing and that other people were just trying to bring me down because that is how they felt about themselves. So, yeah. But, I'm here. I made it through, and I hope this was something maybe like reassuring to listen to, that you are not delusional, you are not paranoid. If you know that somebody's outwardly copying you, trying to be like you, and they're just not being slick about it, sometimes that does happen. So, but yeah, you're not delusional, but continue to be yourself. And with that, I will leave you, and I will see you next week. I think today is Friday that I'm posting this, so I will see you guys next Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Again, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I have some messages about authenticity and just my experiences with that, and hoping to guide whoever needs to hear it at the right time for them. So feel free to like, comment, subscribe if you feel called to, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.